Hello, Kenny. Can you remember this picture? Beginning of a long, hard trip and a lot of rain. I'm sure you recognized our friends, Charlie and Clifford and John, when I was in the Northwest Territories in 1986, 87. I found that Clifford was driving a truck between McPherson and Edmonton and was doing real well. Annie and John were still alive, and I really didn't ask about Charlie. Here are our early days on the Rat. The rain, the cold. I think the first day we worked about 16 hours and went about 6 miles. The water level wasn't quite as high in 87 as it is in 72, but there was still plenty of water. I don't know if you've ever seen these, Kenny. That's one of the reasons I wanted to put them on tape and send them to you. I figured you had a VHS. Remember the sore feet, the cold water? 9 out of 13 days it rained. This is the lower canyon. We're still heading south at this time. A lot of this is still the same. Remember the great fishing, Kenny? You know, this was an actual catch. You threw your line in the water and the fish hit and you brought it in. We needed those fish that night. If it wasn't for the fish, then we would have eaten this ground squirrel. Sort of running out of food. Remember, they told us 2 days to the top. It took more like 2 weeks. Here we are at the Barrier River. It's what we sort of figured was halfway, even though it wasn't. But here you're catching other fish. Doing a great job on the fishing. He's in that water somewhere. You'll land him. A lot of water coming out of the barrier. Not quite as much this year. Of course, it wasn't raining every day either, just about half the days. Finally, it looks like you land him. Well, we fought our way from the barrier. We went a mile or so to a little creek where we spent the night. It took me a half a day to get from the barrier to that creek in '87. Then we went through the upper canyon. We're now above the upper canyon. The weather's terrible. Remember the night? It was the next night after this. I think we laid over here. And we got tired of laying there, and it was raining and cold, and the rain stopped in the middle of the afternoon, so about 5 o'clock we took off and went as far as we could. It was getting dark, cold and miserable, and I was trying to get a fire started, and you were trying to stay warm. Unloaded the canoe, came over and helped me with the fire, no good, went back, loaded the canoe again while I still worked on the fire. Finally, you got the canoe unloaded the second time, and I got the fire going, and we got a little bit warm. Some big grizzly tracks in the area. Kind of a rough night that was. We missed a lot of beautiful scenery this year, Kenny, with all the clouds and the rain. There's a lot of pretty mountains around us here that we never did see. remember the pointed mountain there that we saw and looked at and watched, and it seemed like it took us 3 or 4 days to get to, and it was only half a mile away? That was a big landmark this past year too. These pictures right here in the valley were a mile or so below the Bear Creek, and I spent a couple of nights here, not more than 100 yards on upstream from where I'm taking these pictures, as near as I can reckon. I got up in the morning and clouds were like they are there, and I started moving and the clouds moved in. It started raining, then it started snowing, and it was a whiteout, and I got lost, and the next morning I had to back up and come back down. I ended up camping. Looks almost like right at this point where those bushes are, where those logs, a little bit different but very close. Now we're moving on up closer to Fish Creek and Sheep Creek. Sheep Creek will come off in the left there, just to the below where that pointed mountain is. And remember, we went up Fish Creek for an hour or two the wrong way before we realized we were where we didn't belong. You're still working hard, Kenny. And then after we found out we were going the wrong way and we came back, we lifted up over the falls and into the Rat Creek. Of course, you know, the stream over the beaver dams and all the other rough areas finally end up into a series of lakes. This is the first big one we came into. We're headed directly towards McDougall Pass. We went across 2 that we paddled, and then remember we came to a blockage and had to portage across to the 3rd lake, and then camp and then go to the other side of the lake. And well, we camped on the far side of the lake and then portaged across here the following day. With that blockage, with a little bit of work with the saw and what have you, I lifted over in 87 and paddled on into that 3rd lake and across the lake and camped somewhere near where we had camped in 1972. Portaged pretty much right along the same line that you and I did, Kenny. It was a long, hard walk. Made about 4 trips to get across. Took the canoe across last. It was a real struggle. Summit Lake, same as it was then, beautiful. Weren't any bugs. Of course, I'd had snow. I got snowed in twice. Once back where I was telling you before, and then once right here in the pass. I think that pretty much killed the bugs. The caribou were all around me. I didn't stay at the summit this year, even though maybe I should have spent a day and relaxed and climbed up on the mountain again, but I was sort of intent on reaching the... Spent all morning portaging. Took me several hours to portage. A little splice in the film there. Several hours to portage, and then just really wanted to keep going. This is a picture from atop Mount Russell where you can see where we camped down at the end of Summit Lake. You can see the Little Bell River there winding like a snake, and you can see a little connecting stream between Summit Lake and Little Bell Creek. You see Little Bell Creek winding around into the distance there. Summit Creek was even more difficult this time than it was the last time. Had to do a lot of cutting. Looked like nobody'd been in there in ages. Did a lot of cutting and lifting over. Dragged the canoe through the water. Many times, just like in 72, it was no wider a passage than the width of the canoe. See our final lake and our portage and the earlier lakes that we paddled across. Looking back, you can almost see the delta back there between the mountains. See how the Rat River winds. That's the way we came, somewhere around 70 miles. There's our pointed mountain right there in the middle of the screen. That was the rapids of the Little Bell, did that. I remember the Little Bell as kind of slow moving with small shallow rapids that we just sort of bounced across, Kenny, but I tell you, when I got down the last 3 miles of it in 87, it was some good class 2, maybe class 3 whitewater. Just bounced and knocked me everywhere, tried to maneuver, only had the one paddle, and had a heck of a time getting through. But then again came out onto the Bell River. Beautiful country. Here, here's Old Crow and the end of my my film, Kenny. The town looks a lot like it did in 1972, except now they've reinforced the bank, and they started it the day before I got there, and we're in the process of doing it. The old church is still there. Looks much the same. We're finally getting some good weather now, huh? The main street looks about the same. There's the old store still there, but across from it there's a big new building of some sort. I can't remember what it is right now. Maybe on my videotapes to follow we'll be able to see that. But same old dirt road, same log buildings, some new houses. There were no boomers this time, but in fact there were no other travelers. I did 2 Swedish people, that was it, that I saw on the river from McPherson on. Didn't get a chance to climb up on Old Crow Mountain this time. Of course, Kenny Newcon is still there. A little older and a little wiser, but the same Kenny. Here's the cabin we helped him put a roof on. Shoveled all that dirt up on there. He was using a metal plate and going up and down the ladder and doing it. We came along and started shoveling it up there, and he placed it. This cabin burned down a couple years after we finished it for him, Kenny, and he said he built a new one like in 1974. It looks very much like this one, and you'll see it in the videotape that follows. Point separation. Mile 917 of the Mackenzie River, where it divides into its delta with an east channel, a middle channel, and a Peel channel, and the Husky channel, which run along the west side. The east channel goes on up to Inuvik, Tuktoyaktuk on the Beaufort Sea. The middle channel just goes directly out to the Beaufort Sea. The channel which I'm taking, the west channel, which is the Peel channel, I turn up it for about 17 miles until I reach what I hope I can find, the Husky channel. Paddle into the Husky channel for about a mile, and then with a little bit of luck pick out the mouth of the Rat River as it flows out of the Richardsons. Second day now that I've paddled the narrow channels in the delta looking for the mouth of the Rat. In the distance, with the tops covered in clouds, are the Richardson Mountains, which is where I'm ultimately headed. Just up here on the left, I believe is the second mouth of the Rat, I'm guessing. There's a third mouth. It's a little bit further down. I was on my way to the first mouth yesterday when I ran into a native, James Itsu. He took me to this cabin we ate. He said there's an easier way. He said I wouldn't make it the first way. It would be midnight before I hit the Husky Channel, and many days of hard paddling up the channel. channel of a rat that I was figuring on going in. It was hard to see where he told me on his map, or on my map. I think I'm finding the way. So I followed these continual channels that all look the same. Cut banks on one side, sandbar on the other as it winds and cuts back and forth. Until, just as James said, there'd be a fish camp. He said, stop and ask. That'll be the mouth of the rat. Well, he sure saved me a lot of time so far. I just wonder what I'll find when I do turn into the rat. I stopped at Albert Francis's cabin. He says, yeah, this is the mouth of the rat. He says it's navigable. He says Johnny K is up at Point Desperation Destruction City. He says it's an hour with a kicker. You can't tell how far that is. You're walking or paddling. So I start paddling. By evening, I'm completely lost. You cannot follow the map in the Delta. The mountains are my only means of gauging where I am, are lost in the clouds. I stopped in a heavy rain, put up my tent, get up this morning and start paddling again, hoping that I pass the separation point or the separating place of the rat channel, and that I was getting near to John K's camp, which I hit in an hour and 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I'm well on my way, and here's the beginning of the rapids of the rat. This is nothing. I'm not sure. I believe up around a couple more points is the real destruction city, and that's when I'll see the real white water coming at me. That last little rapid cost me a half an hour. Just as small as it was, most of the problem was I was just trying not to get wet. I didn't feel like I wasn't in position to put my hip waders on. But this, 15 years ago when we turned this corner, this was nothing but a white foam of water. I'm glad to see that the water's a little bit lower this time. Might make it a little easier. We're heading in this direction straight ahead. And I'm not real sure after that because I can't see the mountain on the right of me. Well, I didn't work hard today, but I passed Destruction City, and I went a couple more miles. And I think now that I'm really on the Rat River. The water's lower, much easier than what it was last time. Right here in 1972, and I about bit the bullet. Up against that cut bank, which was more cut, and this where I'm standing was already underwater, or still underwater, and we had to get out across that little island right in front of us here, and across to that other shore, either that or back up for several miles and maybe half a day. Needless to say, I'm glad to see the water's a little lower. I stopped early this morning or tonight because there was a bad storm coming down the valley an hour or so ago. I already had wet gear from last night, so I just decided I'd pack it in and stop, have something to eat, let things dry out, start in a hard day tomorrow. Got my little fire going. Got some water boiling. Very easy to mix up little noodles. looks like some sort of a beef stew type thing in there. Packed tonight, I didn't even look. I've made it right to the base of the canyon. Canyon wall. From here I go west a little bit, then turn south into the lower canyon. I've moved a couple miles and I'm into the canyon. Water's strong. It's not dangerous like it was the last time. It's dangerous, but not life-threatening. As I've moved along this channel, I've come across something I really didn't want to find. That's a fresh track. I've been seeing them for the last couple hundred yards. This bear's been going up and down along the beach here. These are fresh because my prints make the same as his do. So he's in here close. I put the rifle on top of the canoe now instead of buried. So in a way I hope to see him from a distance going over a hill, seeing his rear end. Don't really want to encounter him. Looking back the way I've come, I'm making some progress. It's been rough. The thing that I like the least is that the river seems to be dictating where I go rather than me. There's places where I just can't cross, or I have to cross, or whatever. There's a small rapid that I just came up a few minutes ago. It's really very minor. But it does make walking tough. Like I say, I'm definitely up into the canyon now. Heading south. I'm here looking south. Let's see which way the canyon goes. Don't like it when I hear noises behind me right now. Something moving in the bushes. Good thing for it anyway. This is where the canyon turns. Makes a U-turn, heads back north. Kenny and I made that point a little bit beyond on the second day, so that's when I'm going to get some idea, some judge of just how good I'm doing on this river. Right now I feel like I'm doing all right. I think I'm setting very close to the pace that Kenny and I set. Right now I got to get up through this mess. A little bit tougher piece of water I just came through here. It's a pretty hard struggle. I had to get out and walk in it. Practice. The rocks are slippery. Sliding. That's a pretty good current. You know, it's a pretty mean rock. All in all, I'm encouraged. I seem to be making pretty good time. This is the hardest part of it, other than individual obstacles. Not to mention the rain. The river's been one obstacle after another this morning. At least I'm moving. More signs of grizzly bear, but no bear. This wasn't all too hard right here. I could cut up through there pretty well. Pull myself through these rapids. It seems like you get a little one like that, then you get about 100 yards of decent river where you can line. And all of a sudden you're back into another area where I gotta get in the water and lift the canoe up through the rocks. It takes a lot of time. The rocks are very slippery. If it wasn't a rainy day, I'd set the camera up and just leave it on while I do this. However, at least I'm getting into the turn in the canyon. Quickly in between showers, where I was, you can't really see the rapid at that cut bank. Came 100 yards or so up there. This is what I just came up through. No relief. And then I'll turn around. Behind me here is where I'm going. At least I can see I'm seeing the turn in the canyon, which means I'm getting somewhere. But it's just everywhere. White water. Continual. This isn't so bad here, but I know up around this bend there'll be another one like the one I'm at now. Gotta put this away. Well, almost bit the old proverbial bullet right here, guys. Came up through these rapids, which was no problem. Saw that where I'm standing now, it's a bad cut bank. I could see it coming through the rapids. So I angled out. And you can see how the water keeps with a ripple. I knew there had to be rocks. So I stayed and then stayed knee deep. And then it got to be thigh deep. And I moved right on up here where you're seeing. And I just kept moving as I could. And inching across. And it got pretty wide. And there's a lot of current now getting in to this side. So I'm past this strong current on this side. And I'm inching further and further along. I got past that log there, where it's sticking up. And on up, right into this area. And not 20 feet off of that shore, and the water, man, is up, getting to be chest deep, so I just can't handle it. It's too slippery. I'm sliding. I got to back out. So then I had to make it back to this shore, midstream. Real bad mistake. My canoe was giving me trouble, and I had it the wrong way. I should have had it turned the other way going in, but I had it backwards for what it should have been going into this. Had to let it swing in mainstream. Man, I was lucky. It didn't give a lot of force when it turned, but anyway. I inched back over and made it shore. Felt very lucky to get here. Old American ingenuity. I went and studied all this deadfall a little bit. After a cup of coffee, a couple pancakes with peanut butter and jelly, I felt better. And I went over and I found that if I got rid of the first one, that I could make it past the rest. So I got my old saw out. The saw's been more valuable than my rifle so far, and I went in and I cut all this out. So now I can go through in here, paddle right up to there, go through there, and cut behind that next. There's a channel in there. The bank fell out about 4 feet away from the cut bank now. So I can go in behind that and then hopefully on up the channel. You can see I'm getting pretty deep into the U. Still making very slow time today. Starting off a very nice day. Was some here, clouding up a little bit. I've made the U. I'm going to go, I never made it completely. I'm in it. I'll be heading up to the right and then back to the left, just on this side of those mountains. When I'm able to see a landmark that I can follow, I'll get it. West wall of the canyon, now becoming the east wall of the canyon. And creeping in here. Like it's no big deal. It's home movie. It's looking back. Okay. Oops. Take a spill. So I've come through that gap right there. And then swinging around going up the other way. Nice, beautiful water. Coming. Past the 300-foot elevation mark, which made it fourth of the way up. And I believe that I'll go straight into this lower hill and then take a left around the point that's in the center now. Sharp peak. If it's the one I think it is, it'll become a landmark over the next week. It's easy to pick out. It takes us a long time to get there. You can see it from the top of the mountains and looking back from Summit Lake. It's a good landmark. Other than that, I'm just plugging along, getting pretty far north in this canyon. There's my camp of the night of the 21st. And this is the Western Canyon from the northern section looking back south. When Kenny and I came up this was all water here. Raging water. Quite a bit different. I know I couldn't make it if it was like that now. There's the river on meandering in the distance. Just around that point on the left is where I camped night before last. Still making decent time. There's the four most important items on the trip so far. The canoe, of course, you need. The hip waders. And the saw. And the duct tape. Can't make it without the first two, because I don't know where the hip waders who took a hole right there would be. Without it. How I would have got the canoe through some of the deadfalls without the little saw. And there's another strip of duct tape up covering a rip I've got in my spray cover right above the saw there. So definitely four very valuable items. Getting ready to start off. The first rapid of the day is right there. Right around the bend into the west part of the canyon and hopefully make the Barrier River tonight. easy one. Nice picture of the sky, floor. Good thing this is an easy one. Oh, this is the end of the absolutely toughest day yet. Lost my canoe in a rapid. Unbelievable, trying to line up, somehow it got away from me. Got the bow turned, dragged me down this rock bank as I was trying to hold on to it, pulled away from me. I got up, the thing was going downstream, but there was still some line on the beach, maybe 20 feet away. I went running down, and just as the line was starting to get taut and be pulled away, I dove, caught the end of it, got soaking wet, but I saved my canoe. And then just a cut bank, just one thing after another today. Just unbelievable, but I'm just a little bit short of the Barrier River. Kind of a pretty arrangement here. I think the Rat. The river here is going to the right. Oops. It'll make a quick turn to the left and go back, and the Rat will go through right here. And off to the left of there, the Barrier River will come off. And then somehow we're going to go up in that valley. That's what I'm guessing right now. When Kenny and I came through here, the clouds were hanging right over those low hills. We never saw these mountains. Kind of pretty. They keep coming. It's a big question of today. I should know the answer in an hour or so. Whether the Rat River will do as I suspect. I'll go off through that canyon there, separating from this stream that I'm in now with the Barrier River, turning down this valley that goes to the south. If I've done my homework right, that's the way it's going to happen. If I'm wrong about where I am and how I've been reading the map, then the rat's going to go on down that valley there for another day or so before I reach the barrier. I hope I'm not wrong. And little did I know I was looking at it. This set of rapids is what we were just looking at. There's the rat going off into the valley, up towards the mountain. Here's the barrier coming from the south in the canyon. I'm going to camp here tonight. I have to go up the barrier a little bit in order to get across it. That's just a little too much for me to cross here. Both these turns are pretty rough. So I'll go up and cross it and come back down the other side. And up along this side and along to those rapids there. All sounds like a lot of fun. But at least I know where I am and when I got here. About a half hour into my voyage today, just a little bit above the Barrier River. I stopped to explore what I thought when I saw it yesterday afternoon was a big piece of gypsum. It's an overturned canoe. I'm going to go up and see if there's anything in it, what's under it right now. It had the lettering K and P and the number 823. There were holes in the bottom. The seat was bad. 2 paddles in it that were cracked. Really nothing of any value to worry about, so I just turned it back upside down and left it alone. This is a continuation of the rat now. I'm going to go up through here somewhere and then on around, up around those mountains. Weather's good. It's good last. I'm in good shape. Plenty of food. The second rapid above the Barrier River. Another particularly tough individual. Couldn't come along the far wall. It's a cut bank and too sharp over there. So I had to come across this near bank, get into a right angle turn and a lot of new deadfall. So I had to do, I cut about 2 cords of wood and did a little excavating, moved some rocks around. Took about an hour and a half to go 100 yards, but I'm finally above it. I thought it would get easier above the Barrier River, but so far it's been a bear. One more quick look back above that second rapid above the Barrier River. Finally got to the top of it. There's more rapids behind me. I'll count that as the third. Right over here. Right at the base of that knob with trees there. Right at the base of that's where I camped last night. 2.5 hours ago. A quarter mile maybe. And on ahead, I noticed something different, something that might not be usual. There's a funny color to these trees here. I don't know what that means. I haven't seen yellow trees in a long time. There goes the rat into maybe what could be called the start of the upper canyon. I don't know where the upper canyon starts. Having negotiated Rapid 3 and just finished Rapid 4 above the Barrier River, I find that I've made a bit of a miscalculation. The canyon that I'm heading for turns out not to be the rat. However, it is a creek that's about a mile above the barrier and by chance on the map, and the Rat River continues on to the right. So, no harm done. That's a mile above the barrier, 3 hours and 15 minutes to go a mile. A mile on the map anyway. Really knocking out some time here. As the weather closes in, I negotiated rapid number 7 above the Barrier River. I crossed the 500-foot mark. McDougall Pass is supposed to be 1,200 feet. It wasn't a particularly hard rapid. It's just that it came at you in about 5 or 6 fingers. I passed what looked to be the hardest tried 4 and went back to the first one and made it very easy, so it wasn't particularly hard, just steep and long. Looking back through the upper canyon, I've done the first half of 3/4 mile. It's been like I remember, just get in the water and walk everywhere from ankle to hip wader deep. Steady climb. Water's coming at you, but it's not going over the rocks I have been. Looking the other way, I believe I'll go through that canyon right there in the center. Maybe I won't. In the upper canyon, a new type of river. This is what I've been seeing for the last couple hours. Just a steady, slow uphill climb. The rapids are, in some ways, they're faster. The water stays deeper all the way across, meaning it's knee deep right at the side. Not as steep. Easier going, faster going. And I'm inching my way through the upper canyon here. Easiest part yet, just get in the water and keep wading. Anywhere from falling over ankle deep rocks to waist deep. Peregrine falcons up in the canyon walls. Can't get any pictures of them. The Rat River leaves the upper canyon and opens into this valley. My canoe is still here. Oops. Drifting out a little bit there. Better go get it. This is looking on back. Final turn coming out of the upper canyon. All these funny colored trees still. Yesterday it rained. So I stayed in. It was cold and miserable. Today I start again. The Rat remains sort of a shallow, fast-moving water, relatively safe. A lot of ripples, no really horrendous rapids. As I come into my valley, it's a little hard to tell really where I'm going. The river and valley seem to want to go off straight ahead. As you can see the point of the mountain that I could see from the last campfire, the last shots we had. But I sort of feel that we're going to wind around this hill coming in here on the right and go on back up over between that point there and these mountains coming down on the other side. Not a very good shot of them. I think that direction is where I'm going. Well, half an hour ago I was totally lost. The only cabin that I knew about was supposed to be at Bear Creek. I'm not supposed to be within 10 miles of Bear Creek. Of course, I wish I was on it. All of a sudden, I come to this cabin. It got to be kind of funny. It's a strange feeling to be out here, and the map's not jiving, and I don't see anything I remember. But now I feel that this cabin is okay where it is. It's not the one in Bear Creek. Notice it's clouding up again as it does every night, somewhere 6, 7, 8 o'clock. There's the mountain that I was pointing for this morning when I left. I'm very close to it. And then looking on into the canyon. I still really don't know where I am. Find the landmarks. There's supposed to be a mountain peak like that one. This point that I'm close to and walk around and see for a couple of days, and I can't find it. That's got me puzzled. I hope that one's not it. That's too far away. The river's been narrow and fast. The rapids are quick but deep enough. Slippery. And my funny colored trees. I'm not going to have to worry about them much longer. As you can see, I'm reaching the tree level. The tundra's very much right down to the river in most places now. Here's my pyramid-shaped mountain that I was looking for yesterday and the day before. Not quite as imposing as a figure as I remember, but when you aim for it for 2 days in terrible weather, it tends to take on more importance over the years. And the Rat River as it's become, heading back into the canyon. Not quite as deep. Pretty quick current in there though. It's a little bit tough when you got to go through it and the rocks are slippery. Paddle across it. What I'll do is go right up through this water here to that cut bank and then paddle across to the other side and then follow the sandbar on up as far as I can and do the same thing the other way. Looking at the north slope of the canyon. Here's the mountain that I've been coming to over the last couple days. Put the date on there, you know who I am. Kind of cold, cloudy today. Well, it's just another scenery. You're probably getting as sick of looking at scenery as I am of taking it. You're out here alone, there's not much else you can take it of, though. Maybe we'll try something a little different here. Maybe we'll try a good breakfast scene. Maybe. How about a good color fade, huh? That's a green mold. Or is it a green mold? Maybe we ought to do this a little different here. Try this white. Maybe it should have been more blue. I don't know what these colors look like. Anyway, not much else to take pictures of right now. The road ahead. Bit cold, real cold wind blowing down today. And you can almost see my pyramid. There he is. Very close to him. I'll pass him later this morning. I passed my pyramid. pyramid. As I go around it, I'm just going too fast, but that's too bad. Goes into this nice valley. You can see what's happening. Closing in on me. Real bad over here. There's that pretty valley I was looking at earlier this morning. Nothing pretty now. Anyway, there's a cabin at Bear Creek. Bear Creek comes in right at the base of that mountain on the far side, somewhere like the left of the screen now. That's where I'm heading quick. Well, you saw the funny looking colored trees. They got some funnier looking rain around here. Comes down like in white flakes and just sticks on the ground, and you talk about being cold. And I hit a whiteout yesterday. I couldn't see anything. I mean, as far as to the point there where these two creeks are coming together, it's as far as I could see. If that, I went up the wrong creek, so I'm lost. I'm really out in the middle. I'm headed back downstream now, hoping I find the rat, which I believe is another mile or two down. And then I'd like to get on somewhere again, get a fire started before this sets in. Miserable. Not as much fun as it was a couple days ago, but it's still all right. Yeah, how's that for a frozen glove? Tell me it's not cold. I'm right back to the old camp where I was the night before last now. It took me an hour and 43 minutes to retrace what took me 6.5 hours to go yesterday. Some of the snow's still on my boat. I just knocked most of it off. It's pretty well packed with ice this morning. Whole cover was nothing but ice. So what do you do? I backed up. I'm going to punt. I don't know whether I'll go on tomorrow or whether I'll just go on and get out of here. Have to evaluate where I am and see what I want to try. Have to figure out what mountain that is. That'll give me some idea. I've got a rough idea where I went, and hopefully I can get a line on where I should have went. Very cold, very windy. Would really like to see some clouds. We'll make my final ascent. Try, go up here, hope that that creek that I saw was the Rat River. See what happens from there. Made some impressions on the tent. The vestible's on, it seems to help quite a bit. A little Coleman stove. It'll produce some heat when I turn it on in the vestibule so I can get a little heat in the tent. And I was warmer last night. It was a very cold night. The other end of the tent I've sewn shut. That way I can use my clothespins for other things. And this helped too. Kept the draft down real good. In Arctic Red, I looked at my match supply and thought I had plenty, but I ran out. I'm glad I reached up there and bought a couple boxes of 200. I never used 100 the whole trip. I've got those matches, I've spread them out, I've put some matches, cut them down, put them in a glass jar. That will go with my warm clothes and my dry clothes into a tub. The tub will go in the front. If it gets wet, well, I'm in trouble anyway, so no problem there. So I got all my dry clothes, I got fire everywhere. I redid the bow of my boat, ran the coat hanger through the top, tied the rope to it, and then screwed down the front, which was coming apart and tearing the aluminum. So I got that under control. I'm using an old sweat sock, just barely long enough to make a bandana. So all I can do is try and stay warm and dry and move on and see what happens. If it gets tough, I'm going to turn around, come back, go downriver. Fire helps. I've
retraced 4 of the 6 hours from the day before yesterday. If my calculations are right, that's Bear Creek. This canyon figures out alright on my map. Being a little quick here. The rat should go through there. And see, I couldn't see any of that the other day. And here is Cemetery Mountain. Okay, so that's going to stay on the left of me. So hopefully this river here will turn back the way it is and then make the turn back to the right and go back over this way. If it doesn't, I got to punt. 2 days ago, this is where I quit. I have no recollection of this. I really would have thought if I would remember something like this. Live here and be tight. Today I can see the mountains, and I feel I'm right. I think that's where I want to go, over there. This is looking back. There's my Pyramid Mountain. So, I'll just have to go on and see what happens. Very windy, very cold. Got some sun. I don't know if I put the date on today. 8/31. Oh boy. Didn't send my dad a birthday card. Talk about the caribou migration. There you go. Look at this. There's a whole bunch of them coming down off this hill. Look at that son of a gun, huh? A couple more down there. I saw a few yesterday, but they were way too far away to take a picture of. Look over there, as far as you can see. Look at that big buck. Where are the natives? And I'm right in the middle of the migration here. They see me. I can bring them down with any rifle I got. The shotgun would get them from here. They're 100 yards. There's what remains of the Rat River. Not much. Look at this, they're right on my sandbank. And now they see me and they're a little afraid. I mean, they saw me before, but they didn't really know. There they go. It's time to get out of here. Caribou herd this far south this time. Hello, fellas. I'm just sitting there eating breakfast and all of a sudden look up and see them coming over the hill. This is better than scenery, huh? Real live reindeer. Caribou, there is a difference. Close enough.
a nice rack on that one. Look at the rack on those two. And looking the other way, there's the way I'm going. There's the pass. Gotta go sort of in between these two mountains, and then this sort of ends and it's a creek, and then straight on through there. And it's pretty though, huh? Cemetery Mountain. And these guys are 50 yards. I can't even look at me. Where's my gun? The natives, you just walk out in the middle of the herd. This is small, there'll be thousands of them. You walk out in the middle and you just shoot them. It's not very sporting, but it isn't a sport here. Keep on coming, all shapes and sizes. There's gotta be hundreds of them in this. Here's what the rat becomes. This is one of many small channels. It's marked as sandbar on the map, or rock bar or something. Out here, these black dots are caribou migrating along. I'm going to go right down around that little point there on the right. That big snowy mountain just on this side of it. Somewhere I go down on this side of it. First I gotta go way back to the right and then over to it. Looking back here you get a better idea what I mean by channels. There's one to the left that just came up. And it split several times just beyond where you can see. And here goes one to the right, and I'm standing in one, and there's one coming in from the right over here. So it's just a maze of small channels. Some of them get very thin and very small. It's a nice day. The wind isn't blowing. I don't know if it's any warmer than it was yesterday, but because there's no wind, it sure seems like it is. Gotta make time today. Finally, something as I remember it. 9-1, 5:15. I'm out of the mountains. You can't miss it. There's just no way you can miss it. The Rat River all comes together just 200 yards below here. It's a tough two rapid cut bends. But you're looking right into the valley. Cemetery Mountain on the left. Whatever that other mountain is on the right. Sheep Creek comes right at it, out of it, and runs into the Rat River. Comes right in from the left. It's obvious water. Thank goodness for birch bark. I must have 20 pounds of it with me. But it starts to fire quick. And turning the other way. If you look up, here's the valley. Okay, the Rat River's supposed to go off to the left. Now Kenny and I came along here. And this just looks like a split in in the river, just a maze of channels just like we've been in for days. So we went off here to the right. I think Verlin Kruger did the same thing. Other people did the same thing that I know of. Well, I remember it this time. This is the rat right here. Got to go up the rat. And it's almost like a little waterfall right there, but it's a high rapid and you climb up. It's a narrow channel and you stay to the left of this mountain and follow it back through the lakes, and it's about a day's travel to Summit Lake. So sometime tomorrow night. Kenny and I now, we spent a couple hours going up until we were into this valley and realized that we had just made a mistake and came back. And above the falls, this is what the rat becomes, just a small channel. It'll get narrower. There's sandbars, gravel bars to camp on. Took me an hour to get up the falls, 20 feet, whatever it was, 30 feet. Got up them, traveled about an hour or two, and the weather closed in bad. It started raining about 10 o'clock that evening, whatever that was, the first, and it rained almost continuously until 10 o'clock last night, and then it was off and on showers, the last one being at 5:30 this morning. And what time is it now? 3:30 in the afternoon, and I'm packing up. I'm figuring on making a little bit of time here now as the clouds seem to have lifted. Summit Lake, boy, I'm after you. Not necessarily, but probably and hopefully my last camp in the Northwest Territories. I'm out on the tundra, cooking a little breakfast. This is the way back. Yesterday I was camped right down somewhere in here. Oops, get you a little focus here. Right at the base of that hill. And did most of the day paddling. Get some pretty stiff current in here. Tundra's beautiful. This is looking over. You can see most of the snow is gone from Cemetery Mountain now. Sheep Creek is coming right out of that gap. Here's my next mountain, which is unnamed. My trusty tent. It's so trusty. Wish I had a wide angle. I hope some of the colors and everything is coming out here. It's very beautiful. And the only place there's trees is right here on the banks of the Rat River. And the river is 10 feet below me. The berries of the tundra are ripe. There's still caribou everywhere. There's some little blackberries in here too. If I can find some, I'll get a picture of them. I saw them earlier. I don't see any nearby now. So, again, what I hope is my last camp in the Northwest Territories. Pan to the west. There's a mountain. Second mountain. Good, huh? This is Mount Russell. Mount Russell drops right down at the
base of it. Right at the bottom there is Summit Lake, the far side of Summit Lake. This is McDougall Pass. So I have to go up here today and around this knoll. Then there's a series of lakes and a portage. And it looks right now that I am only a few miles. 3 or 4 miles is the crow flies, or the raven up here, from the base of Mount Russell and Summit Lake. Why I can't get started, I don't know. I'm just not in a hurry today, or any day. I should have been gone a long time ago. I got up to pack and leave and be there. I should be 2 hours on my way now, and I'm just sitting here having coffee and taking pictures and enjoying it, which is what I do most mornings anyway. So, more later on. See the portage. 2 portages, one between 2 of the small lakes, and then one between the furthest small lake and Summit Lake. 1 hour and 47 minutes. I'm into the first lake. I'm also into the water. I'm soaking wet. I fell in again. Boy, what a dummy. That ought to be Two Ocean Creek coming right out of there. And here goes the rat through there, I hope. And then there'll be another lake on the other side, a little more river, several lakes, and then the portage. Getting a little cold, I gotta get moving. I don't remember all this fast water between the lakes, but it's gotta be. I'm using this mountain as my reference. I really believe that the last couple lakes before the big portage to Summit Lake is right below these mountains. So that's what I'm following right now. I climbed out a couple of minutes ago. Climbed up onto the top up here on the tundra, and it's just dotted with caribou. Everywhere you look, there's just caribou grazing. So, anyway, right now I'm heading for that mountain. The sun comes out once in a while, and boy, that feels good. I'm still kind of chilly. So, like I said, I don't remember all this fast water between the lakes. I thought it was an easy paddle after you hit the lakes. But I'm following it anyway. Just walking in the water, pulling my canoe, see what happens. So I back up, and I hang my first left into what looks like a dead slough, and boy, I wish it was a dead slough. Now, this is big now, look at the fish jumping there. I just see them swimming in the water here. It was wide enough for my canoe in places, and I just kept following it. And I don't know where I'm going, but I hope I'm getting somewhere. This isn't the first beaver dam. I've been looking over a bunch of little ones. This is the biggest, most formidable one, but I hope also it'll mean that there's more water behind it. Right here, as wide as this is the best water I've been in since I turned off of that little creek. So, if you're going up, and all of a sudden the water is fast and over rocks, time to go back and hang a left and follow what looks like a dead slough. Here we go. So this is where it ends, I think. The last time we came into this lake. Isn't it beautiful? Came into this lake and paddled over onto this far side over in here somewhere. You can see where you go out. At least over there you can. But you can't go through. We had to portage across to a little lake, paddled a little lake, and then portage on across into Summit Lake, which is going to be over in there. And then straight ahead, Summit Creek will go straight ahead in towards that mountain, and then along behind that mountain over there, behind that point is where Little Bell Creek will go down and is the way out of here. So, that's what I'm looking for right now, is the way out of here. Well, I swore I was going to get up and get started early this morning, but when I woke up, I mean, that was the fog. But it was in here. I couldn't see 30 feet outside my tent. And I thought, oh boy, You know, here we go again. That was about, 8 o'clock my time, whatever time that is. So I just hoped that I would be able to wait it out and it would lift. I waited an hour or so, and I figured it was going to lift. I've seen so many fogs, you know, on the racetrack and everything, river down. And I figured, well, you know, it had to lift. And son of a gun, I couldn't wait anyway. About an hour I got up. I started moving stuff around and working on getting things moved. And now it's pretty well starting to lift. The sun's coming up. I can see most of the mountains. At least I can see to walk back and forth across the tundra. About 3, maybe 4 trips ought to do it. Hope this is my last camp anywhere near Summit Lake. This is 9/6. It was 9/6. The fog picture's just a few minutes, just right now. The 5th doesn't exist. It rained all night the 4th. I got here 8:15. I got to Summit Lake. Okay, I camped on a lake right over where we're looking, which you can't see, but it's in those trees. I camped there. Got to Summit Lake, went back. And that's when I decided to camp, because here comes the rain. I barely got my tent up and got in from the rain. Rained all night, snowed all morning, thawed all yesterday afternoon, and was pretty decent yesterday evening. I got out and made a fire and got dry and ate, and then slept in. And this morning, that's maybe why the fog was a little distressing. I was afraid of more snow for a minute. Anyway, from that lake, you turn west, the only way, in between these mountains, and you walk to the rise in the land. Top of the rise of the land, and you look over, there it is. Summit Lake. This is McDougall Pass. Somewhere down in there, Little Bell Creek goes in behind that point on the left, and the lake there and those hills on the right. So, I'm going to walk out here a little ways and you can get a look at me. I don't know what I look like. I'm not as haggard, I don't think, as I look. I'm a little tired right now after 4 portages. Lost a little weight. Got a little beard. It'll all come off. Hair's a mess. Red hat looks nice, huh? Well, tell you what. It's been a rough 3 weeks. So, I just wanted to see how bad I looked. shirt. This is all that's left of the blue shirt. When it was foggy this morning, I used it to blaze a trail, so it's hanging on trees. Over there, a couple down here. Somewhere now, right in this little cove, there's supposed to be a creek out of here that'll lead into Little Bell River. That's where I'm heading right now, as fast as I can get here. Way out of Summit Lake. Somewhere, either right in there, or more over here in the center. There'll be the creek going out. Anyway, you head for the base of that Pyramid Mountain, and you're close. Well, the creek is very easy to find, and it is going out just like all the little, the end of the Rat River going into the lakes on the other side. It's going to get very narrow. I'm going to have to lift over up here, so it's a struggle to get out. Well, if you take this, which is 20 feet wide or so, 25 foot wide, okay, and you, somebody ought to navigate. Close it down to it's the width of the canoe, then you'll have what the Summit Creek was like. This is Little Bell Creek, Little Bell River, I guess. It's about 6 or 8 miles till I hit the Bell River. And this is all it is, slow, meandering. There are 3 or 4 shallow rock rapids. The water gets a little quick. I'll walk through those. It just winds down through the mountains and out the other side. So I guess you can say I'm well on my way home now. I'm off the summit. I'm out of the Rat. I'm coasting. They're so dumb. So dumb. I've walked up and picked them up. Looks like dinner. Nah, not tonight. Look at them all. They don't know what to do. There they go. Here's a place Kenny and I will never forget. Right there on that point. We got up one morning in 1972 and our canoe was gone. It's an island, about 20 miles from the mouth of the Bell River where it hits the Porcupine. Once again, it's flooded, just like the last time we came through, only the water's much higher right now than it was when Kenny and I landed, but not when we left. Bell, it's been very poor camping. Somehow I found a garden spot last night. It was like Grand Central Station. Every animal in the world went through. Yesterday it rained. I didn't get to travel. Anyway, looking back the other way, it's steep cut banks. The water's high on the banks everywhere. There's just really no place to pull out and camp. There's no wood. Well, there is in places, but overall, it's just generally, it's hard to find a place if you want to camp. So, I'm making tracks. I hope to hit the Porcupine River tonight. Another 4 or 5 hours. Right there's where our canoe was, Kenny. Got up in the morning and it was gone. The water had come up just like this. Luckily our tent was right up here. Our tent was right in there, and by morning the water was only a couple feet away from the tent. Unbelievable. I hope to see Stephen Frost and Dick Newcon here in a day or two. Guys that found our canoe and brought it back. Now that's the way I want to see that, guys. Look at that. This is on the Porcupine. It's a grizzle bear. Let me move in closer. Boy, that's beautiful. I've been looking for one of those. You can't get me here, see? Perfect way to see one. That's nice to see, though. Nice to see he ran when he saw me. Look at that son of a gun go. Well, that makes it. I mean, that's what I wanted to see for a long time. I'd love to see some wolves. I ran into a couple of Danish people yesterday. They came down the Eagle, and just a couple of miles before, above where I saw them, son of a gun, they said they didn't go up on the bluff and be looking around, and there's a couple of wolves just laying there, and they got some good pictures of them. This is looking down along the Porcupine River, just a little bigger and wider than the Bell. Slow current, nothing much. Very clear, pretty water on the Porcupine side still, and then sort of murky, same water that I've had on the Bell, sort of muddy. A little bit of rain today. I'm about 90 miles, 85 miles from Old Crow. Hope being what? Is it done to the office? What's that? Guess I better go back to the other office. It's Kenny Newcon's camp. Finally made it yesterday. Decided to stay for a day or so. This is my tent. Just looking up the Porcupine. Thank you, Kenny. Got himself a boat here. That's his canoe and my canoe. That's his new boat. cabin exactly like the one we put the roof on in 1972, which burned down in 1974, and he rebuilt it. Chopped wood today. Caribou heart. Fresh kill about 2-3 days ago. We've been eating it all day. It's been great. Hindquarters of the caribous hanging the smoke. Of course, the fire went out. They aren't smoking a lot right now. I got you.
I keep on thinking that's my ear ringing. Never.
So come now, this one.
Maybe you have to take that screw out again before you can get it down there. Yeah, maybe this is stopping it.
How?
weasel all.
Read out, Peter. I don't need you. You surely don't need me.
Who's this on the bottom?
For me,
This is when you're young.
I don't need love and affection. I don't need peace and harmony.
Is that place back there?
You're right here, right here. I don't need you. You surely don't need me. Maybe I get another one. Two of them up there, yeah.
Did you bring that in with us the other day? You did.
Skin.
Where was it? Wrapped up in your pack?
Oh, I bring it here before, and then I went up.
Oh, before I was with
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you have any skins, caribou skins here? Like the one
There.
up there?
Like the one you gave me?
None here.
Another one up there. You see a bunch
Oh
of
yeah, there
them
was
up
you
there.
had several more up there. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you should pick up when you came down.
Yeah.
What
Well, I
would
just
the-
brought the one. You know, the one you gave me is the one I have. I slept on it the last couple nights.
Well, let's go up and get them.
I don't have
Today?
time. You
We-
could go up. Well,
We don't have a
I
motor.
can say that, yeah.
a bear skin, your own bear skin.
Yeah, no, you'd never get that out of the country.
Yeah. What? The caribou?
No, the bear.
Oh, the bear. No, the caribou's all right.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any trouble with the caribou.
Well, it's good.